Welcome to another edition of Hydrogeek podcast. Today we'll discuss about case studies, five case studies where droughts were identified with the help of multi-criteria decision-making techniques. Now all of us know what drought is. Drought is a prolonged period of abnormally low rainfall leading to water scarcity and reduced crop yields. This can have devastating effects on agriculture, food security, and local economies, making it one of the major pressing issues for many regions around the world. Now, actually, what happens in drought is due to lack of rainfall, there is a scarcity of water. As a result, the moisture in the soil reduces drastically. And after surpassing a certain limit, what happens is the crops cultivated in those land where drought is prevalent doesn't get adequate water naturally. If you artificially apply water, it is okay, but if you do not, naturally they cannot accumulate water. And one of the major factor of plant life is water. Without water, crops cannot live. Their sustenance depends upon the water only. And now, if this type of condition continues for a long time, more than 3 months or more than 6 months, it is said that the drought condition is prevalent in that region. But as you as you can understand that the very definition of drought is fuzzy. Okay, so whether we'll take minimum 3 months or wait minimum 3 months to declare a region a drought prone region, or we can declare it before that. Some governments do that after 1 month of dryness, they declare drought. Some governments declare that after 6 months. So there is no specific rules existing in all over the world. Yes, there are some rules prescribed by the FAO and other international regulatory authorities which regulates the agricultural activity of different places, among which FAO is one of the most prominent ones, as you know. The full form of FAO is Food and Agricultural Organization. So, according to FAO, the definition of drought, according to FAO, is also not very clear one. It is rather fuzzy and it is very hard to understand what drought is. So the Food and Agriculture Organization defines a drought as a period of time when there is less precipitation than expected or normal, and this deficiency lasts for a season or longer. You see, they are mentioning a period, a season, but they are not mentioning the number of months or number of days we must wait to declare a region drought. Right? Again, there is a term known as when there is less precipitation than expected. So that is also a rather fuzzy definition, because what do you mean by expected precipitation? It is a common precipitation that takes place during that season. Now, Due to climate change, there are lots of abnormality, especially in the climate of multiple regions of the world. So the very threshold of that term expected precipitation is now rather contiguous. You cannot say that for the month of June we expect this amount of precipitation because now the extremities are the new normals of the era. Just see how many cyclonic storm we have observed in all over the world in the last 1 month only. That is rare for now, but it is quite normal, or it will be quite normal in the coming days. So uh, preparing or developing a definition based on some expected values and some unknown number of seasons or unknown or definite period is not a good definition, according to me. That is why the very FAO they have also agreed to the difficulty in identifying drought. So they are saying that drought can be difficult to define because there are many different definitions that reflect different needs, regions, and approaches. So they are saying that some definitions are conceptual, some are operational, some are based on function, and it operates in ways that can be measured. For example, droughts are common in dry lands, which include arid, semi-arid, and dry subhumid areas. Droughts that last for a decade or more are called desiccation, right? Which is leading us to the desertification of the area. So, but all droughts cannot create desiccation, correct? There are places where droughts have taken place, but they have not led the area to become a desert due to that drought. Again, rainfall has occurred, and again they have recuperated. Okay, so you know, uh, one of the major problem with drought-related studies, or one of the most sought after investigation in drought-related study, is how to identify drought. Okay, so in this regard, you can understood that whether or not there is drought, it is a decision, and if you are making a decision, the best and most reliable way to do it is apply your multi-criteria decision making technique. At least the method will be objective, not subjective. By objective means numerical. You can follow or you can repeat the method multiple times. Okay, so let us see or let us discuss uh, five different case studies where multi-criteria decision making was applied to identify drought. Drought, sorry. So here you can see they have written that accurate identification of drought conditions is crucial for effective mitigation strategies to minimize its impact on communities and the environment. MCDM offers a systematic approach that can help decision makers prioritize actions and allocate resources efficiently in response to drought events. Right? So below are five such cases where MCDMs were applied or used to identify droughts. Okay, so let us take the first case study. It is the authors Shiva Kumar et al. In the year of 2021, they mapped the regions of Namakkal district of Tamil Nadu, a state of India, with the help of geographical information system and analytical hierarchy process (HB), a very famous multi-criteria decision making technique, to classify the region into drought prone, or in terms of the severity of droughts being observed there, right? And for this, they take the remote sensing satellite generated imageries and process them in through a efficient image processing software, and they develop the logic of classification with the help of analytical hierarchy process, and they have developed a map which represents drought in different levels of severity for the district of Namakkal in Tamil Nadu. Now, here the study found that 62% of the district's total area was under mild drought condition. Okay, and this study also recommend the use of both AHP and GIS for this type of studies. In this context, I will also like to add that please remember that drought can be hydrological or agricultural. You know, so in case of hydrological, the impact audience is the entire population, because if there is lack of rain for a long period of time, then you will face this type of drought, and it impacts the all kind of people of the watershed. Whereas agriculture drought is only concerned about the cultivators, because if there is no moisture or very small amount of moisture in the soil, then it impacts the agricultural productivity of the area. And if that type of situation persists for a long duration of time, as per the decision maker decision, that region is declared as agricultural drought. So mainly these two types of drought are observed. In addition to these, there are many other types of drought that I will not discuss. Uh, that I will not discuss now. Uh, Maybe in some later podcast I will discuss them. So this study by Shiva Kumar and their authors are Vidya Lakshmi, then Rakhit Radha Krishnappa, and Manoj Nalanthale. They all are they're all the authors of that this study, and it was published in the year of 2021. And there they utilized AHP and GIS to classify a district in terms of drought. Okay, now the in case of the next study, there the authors have utilized Fuji analytical network process and decision making trial and evaluation laboratory. This is known as DMATL. These two methods to evaluate drought risk in the Kashkan River basin in Iran. So here their main aim is to identify drought. Okay, and their results show that the severity of droughts is observed in 20% of the districts where the risk is intense, and they are mainly concentrated in the western part of the basin, right? And they are mainly concerned about hydrological drought. They are not concerned about agricultural drought. The earlier case study was more concerned about agriculture drought. But this study where the authors have used Fuji based analytical network process and DMATL, They are more concerned about the hydrological factors. Okay, so the authors of the studies are Hidayat Hussain and Hesam Said Kabuli. This was published in the year of 2024, this year itself, in International Journal of Disaster Risk Reduction. Right, and this is one of the study which is trying to uh, identify droughts in terms of hydrological factors. Okay. Now, in the next study, again GIS is applied. Now, here they have tried to identify the impact of climate change on drought risk. The study uses GIS, that means GIS is used as a multi-criteria decision making technique to analyze the climate change impacts on drought risk. The region is semi arid, it is situated in Gujarat of India, West India. The basin is Sabarmati River Basin. The data used is temperature, precipitation, moisture, land cover, soil type, and uses of the water to predict drought trends. So, and the results were used for developing drought risk management strategies, and they have greatly encouraged the authors of the or authors who are very interested to work in this field of study to use GIS for identifying climate induced drought. But here also the drought mainly concerned about hydrological drought. Okay. The name of the authors are Rinali Patel and Anant Patel. Journal is Results in Engineering and the year of publication is 2024. And in the fourth study, the TOPSIS, this very popular MCDM technique, was used to develop a decision support system. And this time they are considered agriculture drought, not hydrological drought. And here they use the experience of the farmer to prioritize the production risk due to the drought, and experts to rank the price risk. Okay, so for a causal parameter, farmers have prioritized its production risk and experts have prioritized its price risk. Say, for example, if you are taking soil moisture, what is the impact of soil moisture on productivity, agricultural productivity? It is rated by the farmers. And the experts means subjects experts, ranked the impact of less soil moisture on the price of the product. So, in this unique manner, and they utilize the TOPSIS for or as a decision making technique to develop a DSS, decision support system. And in this way, they have tried to identify drought or identify the risk due to drought. And here also, drought means agricultural drought, not hydrological drought. Okay, and in the next and the last case study, here they have the authors. The earlier study was conducted by Johora Sarani, Ali Sardar Shahreki, and Mahadi Safdari. It was published in Journal of Applied Research in Water and Wastewater in the year of 2024. Okay, and next and last case study is a novel PCA drought index was developed. Uh, what is PCA? PCA is actually principal component analysis. It is a method of classifying a set of data, generally utilized in unsupervised classification. And they have also utilized the multi-criteria decision making technique, AHP, analytical hierarchy process, and GIS. They have used the software ArcGIS. So what they have done is, with the help of 10 risk parameters, they have classified the watershed situated in the Raichur taluk of Karnataka. Okay, and they have classified the watershed in terms of water availability. And this water availability is represented by the PCA, Principal Component Analysis Based Drought Index. It's an index, okay, which have 10 input parameters, and their weightages of importance were decided by the AHP. And after the index is developed, based on the PCA analysis, the entire region, the watershed, was classified into different levels of drought or availability of water, such that the regions of most severe type of droughts can be identified and proper mitigation measures can be taken. The conclusion of the study was very interesting. It said that socio-economic information is extremely important to develop better policies and climate resilient strategies for the Tulu. That means, in addition to the technological information that we already collect, we must also collect the socio-economic status of the local population. This also helps greatly in priority based resource allocation for mitigating a disaster. Okay, so this is a very novel study. It utilized AHP, it utilized principal component analysis, it utilized GIS, and ultimately they have proposed an index known as PCA Drought Index, which they have used to classify the entire region into the different levels of drought. And accordingly, they will strategize the mitigation measures. But they are suggesting that along with all the technical information that we generally collect, we must also collect the socio-economic information of the local people. If the local people is very poor, uh, resource must be allocated fast, fund must be allocated fast, because they cannot sustain, even if their severity is not as severe as many other regions. It is true. It is hard to believe or hard to accept, but it is true. Even if they have moderate level of drought severity, but if they have no money to sustain, then you must give money to them first. Even if there is more region which have greater amount of severity, because they can sustain for a time being. After then, you are giving them funds. Nah? You are not entirely denying them fund, but priority is for those region where people is socio-economically very very poor. The most poverty prone region must be addressed first, right? Even if the severity is not as much. Okay, so here we discuss about five different case studies. All of them has utilized MCDM along with GIS and some other smart techniques, right? Some have utilized PCA also, principal component analysis. And in case of MCDM, mainly HP is used, but in some cases they used Topsys, ANP, then your Dematel and all these things. But AHP, I think, is the most safest MCDM technique and most reliable MCDM technique to use, because they are used for the last 2 decades with highly satisfactory results. Yes, these methods are also lacuna. None of the computational technique is free of error. But why people are using this technique so many times? Because they are very easy to use, they are very easy to understand. So both the user and the viewer, both of them can easily understood what a HP generated map is trying to represent. But the very problem that I was talking about, how to identify drought, this type of identification is passive identification, where we are classifying regions in terms of drought severity. But whether drought is there or not is still a question, still a contiguous question, which is not convincingly addressed by any of the scientists of the world. But yes, what my opinion is, if you can use MCDM techniques intelligently, then I think we can achieve or we can develop a more clearer, more concise definition and more definitive definition of drought. And when we can do that, then identifying drought will be a very easy thing to do. So, with this, I conclude this podcast. If you have any comments, then kindly post a comment to this podcast. And if you think that I have given you some little bit of information which you can use later on in your research, then kindly like or share or subscribe to the podcast. These things actually highly motivated me to make the next podcast. Without this, uh, it is very difficult to sustain because if I do not know how my audience is feeling my podcast, then I cannot develop myself or I cannot improve the quality of this podcast. With this, thank you for your patience uh, listening, and maybe we'll meet soon in another podcast. Thanks and ciao.